It's lovely to see you. You could add your time and your celebrity to any number of causes. Why have you chosen to be a Goodwill Ambassador for UNHCR?
I count myself incredibly privileged to be working with UNHCR. I mean, I look around me and it's the largest, one of the largest crises facing us as a species. It's an unprecedented amount of people are on the move, 68.5 million around the world, and many of them are refugees, and many of those refugees are children. Over half of the refugees around the world are children. So as a mother, as a human being, you can't ignore that. And then being Australian, I come from a country that has largely been positively built on a welcoming stance to immigrants and asylum seekers and refugees. And I've just watched over the last 20 years that welcoming sort of discourse and embrace towards the world's most vulnerable people has been replaced with a kind of a narrative of xenophobia and fear. And I found that really bewildering. So I suppose for me, being a Goodwill Ambassador for UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, is an opportunity to try and change that discourse to one of empathy and understanding, and finding the points of connection that we all have actually between refugees. Because when you're fleeing from your country, fleeing persecution, you don't stop being a human being.
And you went to Bangladesh earlier this year. You went to bear witness and hear some of those stories. As a storyteller, and I know you're very passionate particularly about the plight of women on the planet, as am I, how important was it to go and look those refugees, those displaced people in the eye and hear their accounts of what they've been through?
It was overwhelming, as you can imagine. I mean, now in the Cox's Bazar area, there's over 900,000, or upwards of 900,000 Rohingya refugees, some of whom have been there for many years, but hundreds of thousands of those people have fled in a very short space of time. And it was very chaotic. And I was also overwhelmed, not only by the scale of the need, which is still very much real and present, but also by the organisational power of UNHCR to help bring some sort of structure to that chaos. And I was also very, very overwhelmed by the fact that the Bangladeshi government and the host communities have been so welcoming to these people. What I saw was incredible generosity, and I found that very humbling.
What's the power of creativity in all of this? Because I came to Parliament in the UK on World Refugee Day, and it was yourself.
So did I.
Yeah, you were there, you were great, you performed, you were the phenomenal JJ Bolo.
Oh, it's been wonderful,
Isn't he incredible? David Morrissey, Colin Firth. So what is the power of art?
I think a story, whether it's told with images or spoken word or through music, however you receive it and however it's made, it's all about finding those points of connection and building a road to empathy and understanding and humanising I suppose, the stories of refugees and finding those points of connection. I mean, there's so many refugees. The refugee problem didn't just erupt overnight. You know, think about Sigmund Freud or Bob Marley or Madeleine Albright or Hannah Arendt. There's so many incredible refugees that have given so much back to their place that they've eventually called home. And so when we start to put those names and tell those stories, like some of the stories we read on that day were actually refugee first-person stories. And I think when people hear those things, and hear about the plight of women and girls, it hopefully does get people to first base, because the numbers are overwhelming, but it's we can make very small actions in our own lives that can actually, have a significant impact, I think.
And you touched on it earlier, we're living in very dark and cynical times.
We are.
How important is it to have a night like tonight, to have the Nansen Award, where we do celebrate humanity?
Yes, and hope. I mean, in the end, you and I, we lose hope on a day-to-day basis. It's very difficult to go on. You take the way of hope from a refugee, and it's also very difficult for them to go on. And so I think it's really important we all want heroes, don't we? And tonight is about celebrating selfless giving back, often at great personal cost, to help to refugees like Dr. Attar, who has, with next to nothing, with one lamp, and often with, a very small toolkit, and I do say toolkit, he's been saving lives in South Sudan, and I find that absolutely inspiring. And also in my own life to think, well, what can I do? You know, how can I challenge xenophobic thinking? How can I use my vote to make sure that I'm represented in a way where xenophobic sort of lockdown policies are not misrepresenting, you know, my country of birth's national character. You know, there's things we can do.
You're doing a huge amount.
I don't know about that. Really Dr. Attar is, and he's the one
and for a lot of people, you are also a hero. As I like to call you, a total badass. Cate, thank you so much.
Thank you.